make it as interactive as possible. I know we've got an hour booked in, and hopefully we can get through the 2 products. And as it says, ask questions as you go along if you don't understand something, or if you want to ask what the product does and things like that. We can certainly do that. All right. So you guys can all see my screen, okay? You can hear me, okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to go through some of the, at a high level of some of the products that we have in our portfolio stack, because we do go across all the different product lifecycle stages, ranging from development, test, all the way to performance. But if we go from left to right, when we talk about defining our definition, we talk about mostly around the API side of things. Swagger is a tool that we've taken under our wing, basically, in the last 6 to 8 months, which is used for defining APIs. And we're kind of developing that and trying to incorporate that into our Ready API, SOAP-UI platform. So the guy that's developed that is now a CTO with Smartbear, Tony Tam. And again, we're trying to incorporate that into our Ready API platform. Our collaborator tool is for peer code review, so reviewing each other's code, helping to improve software quality. We work with all different source control systems, Gits or version perforce, all that kind of stuff. It also allows you to review documentation, so PDFs, XLS, documents, all that kind of stuff. When we talk about analyzing, we talk about AQTime Pro product, which is a scripting profile, a coverage tool, and it also looks into it's like a static code analysis, and it also looks into your code and just verifies whether there's any memory leaks and so on and so forth. All right, and then you got your virtualization. So this is a hot topic at the moment for us, and it's based off of this Ready API platform. So some of you may be familiar with the SOAP-UI. Again, there's both a free version and a paid version out there. But over a year ago, we created another platform, a Ready API platform. On top of that, we got 4 different modules. We got SOAP-UI and G Pro for functional testing of the APIs. We got secure testing of the APIs, LoadUI and G Pro for load testing of the APIs, and also a service fee. So that service fee is virtualizing those third-party APIs. So instead of you connecting to those third-party APIs, you can virtualize it inside of the Ready API platform and do all your testing there. So be it load testing, be it functional testing. So again, we're trying to have all that from an API point of view in one platform. Our functional test is our TestComplete, which we're going to talk about today for desktop, web, and mobile. And QAComplete is our test management product for end-to-end traceability and test management as well. When we talk about performance, we talk about things like load testing. So Load Complete is a load testing tool for your web applications, and it's a record and playback record, and it looks at HTTP requests and then sees what the application is like when you got 1,000 VUs, 10,000 VUs, and you can compare it and also do some troubleshooting as well where there may be issues with that. And then finally, you got your alert site. And that's around monitoring your web application. So from the point of view of seeing how long it takes to log on to your application, to looking at the end user experience, so recording a particular scenario in your application. So for example, with eBay, one of the big ones is looking at something, putting it into your basket and checking out, right? So that shouldn't take more than a minute or 2 minutes. If it does, we can record and monitor that particular scenario. If it does, the administrator is notified straight away, and we can proactively look into the issue before more end users see the issue. Alert Site also monitors your APIs, so any issues that might be with your APIs when you're testing those, Alert Site does that as well. All right, so that's a very high level overview of our products. They're all on our Smartbear webpage, and they're all certainly come with download trial versions as well. Okay, so any questions on that? As I said, this is kind of a mismatch of what we're trying to do. So again, with Smartbear, the history of that was around. Okay. Guys, if you, I know this, I don't know whoever's just joined there, but there's a bit of an echo. So can you guys mute your phone for now?
Whoa.
I'm going to mute everyone. If you do, that's better.
Yeah, You were just muted. That was you.
Yeah. So this is kind of a diagram that I created showing the integration points. So you know what tools in our portfolio integrated with what. What we're trying to do is because Smartbear is a makeup of a number of different companies. We're trying to now over the last year or so trying to integrate those in together. So Ready API can integrate it with QAComplete, TestComplete, and Load Complete can integrate with TestComplete. So again, there's a whole load of integration points in there. We're looking to have that all, like, you know, again, create a monitor, a functional test from alert side and things like that. So, you know, slowly but surely we're getting that integration in there for a one-stop shop for software quality products. From a TestComplete point of view, what we're going to look at today is a summary report. And again, I'm going to run through them very, very quickly because I think the main part is the project creation, keyword tests, look at the object recognition, because I think a lot of you guys, I'm assuming now, are pretty much interested in the whole technical side of that. And again, looking at the visualizer, cleanup steps, and some of the looping. So again, browser loops, data-driven loops, generating your own test data as well. And then finally looking at you're using your test case, your scripts. We look at some of the integrations as well. Like, so again, TestComplete has got integration with Selenium. You can run API tests as well, and so on. All right. From a QAComplete test management point of view, what we're going to look at is dashboards and reporting. Now, with the dashboards and reports, this is going to change over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to have a new release of QAComplete over the next couple of weeks. And dashboards and reports is a big one for us in terms of changes. So again, the UI is going to slightly change there as well. What the platform, what the framework for dashboards and reports is at the moment is developed off of Crystal Reports. So people that wanted to customize reports would have to do so, because QAComplete comes in two forms. It comes as SaaS and on-premise. If you wanted to customize your report, you'd have to do that with the on-premise version. So we're going to look at test management, so customization of fields, values, and workflow states. Creating a test sets, how you can manage those as well, running automated tests as well. Looking at releases requirements, I'm going to mostly focus on test management because the look and feel and requirements and releases are going to be the exact same thing. Looking at the Jira connector, so QAComplete works with other systems like, you know, Bugzilla, all that kind of stuff. But that's with OpsHub integration, so it's an additional cost. But what we've done is we've created our own Jira connector. So now people can work with Jira connector. And again, the reason for that is because we got feedback from the market, from prospects, as to you know, why they want to, like, you know, a lot of people want to use Jira or are using Jira in their systems. So that's it in a nutshell. And what I'm going to do, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to jump straight into TestComplete, which is our functional UI automation product. As I said, similar to, like, you know, other products on the market are UFT or Ranrex and so on. You know, test plant, all that kind of stuff. All right. So really what this is just a summary report of a test project that I ran. So again, it shows you the start and end points, the duration of the test, who ran it, on what machine it was run, how many test objects or how many test items were in the project, and of those, how many were executed, and also the overview of that in a graphical representation. We've also got log items, so for each individual test that's created, there's a log file for that when you run the project. And then you got your project explorer, so all that is around your artifacts, so all your keyword tests, all your scripts, all that kind of stuff that's created. And also you're down here at the bottom, you got your log files for each of your projects and your keyword tests as well. Now I've got a couple of applications. I've got a desktop and a web application. The desktop is it's really an orders application which comes as part of the TestComplete installation. It's a WPF application, and it's just showing how you can navigate to the objects, create and update and modify. So again, fill in some details as well. And the next one then is my internal web application, and that's for looking at, I think it's the hot sauce. So again, I kind of switched up between a stock trader application and a hot sauce one. So bear with me a second, guys. I don't know what's happened here. As I said, sometimes with demos things just don't pan out. Because I actually had run this test a few minutes ago, so I do apologize for that. So as I said, the orders application is one thing that comes as part of the install. And maybe I need to do my reboot because it's been a while since I rebooted this server. So bear with me a second, guys. Yes. So let me just close this down here for a second. I've just started up another few items. So again, my machine is pretty slow. I've got a web server. I've got Jenkins, Jira. So my machine is getting pretty much hammered at the moment. So I do apologize for the slowness of this. So hopefully if I can just reboot this and then get it back up again. So any quick questions while I'm just rebooting, as they would say?
The tests, so I think there are 15 tests, 8 passed and the rest failed, something of that order of magnitude. Is the master data on the tests actually QA complete, or are you hosting them there as well?
So again, this it's all hosted on the TestComplete application. If you want to manage those tests, what we do, and I'll show you in QAComplete, what we do is we normally just zip up this particular project. So what you'll do is you'll associate your keyword tests, your scripts to the project. So you can see here, these are the projects that I've run. So as you can see, there's 15 in here, but I've only ran 8. The rest are grayed out, so 7 are grayed out. So what I want to do is if I want to run this project and all these keyword tests in QAComplete, I'll just zip up this project here. Actually, this directory here and add it into QAComplete, and with my test agent I can then run the test and it'll show up in the QAComplete as well. All right. So from a management point of view, that's as simple as it would get in terms of integration. Of course, you need to download your test agent and set that up as well. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, yeah. Here we go. So again, it's amazing what a reboot does for an application. So as I says, also in this application, I also done a check. I done a check on the total to make sure everything is all right there. So again, it can be a check on a value. It can be a check on a particular control. And again, similar to this as well, what I've got is I'm logging on to my web application. And when I purchase something, so again, the guys in the office like their hot sauce. So that's the reason for using this application. And this one here also checks the total, the current total, and verifies it and make sure it is correct. If it's not, then it'll give her an error message as well. So again, that's very, very quickly. Me running my 2 tests here. Again, 43 seconds to run those 2 tests. But what I'm seeing here as well is some errors. And I'm going to work with my web application for now. And what we see here, if I zoom in a bit for you guys, is TestComplete is gathering all the information around what browser version you're working with. So again, we support all of this browser versions, 9 to 11 for IE. We support Chrome 48. Firefox 44 is out. Chrome and Firefox are probably the main ones that are used quite a lot in terms of updates, and we do have updates very regularly when they're done. So we prompt you to update TestComplete when those releases come out. Also, what we have is screenshots during record and playback. So when you're recording the test, you take a screenshot of it, and when you're playing that back. So it kind of gives you a manual comparison between the screens, because you may play back a week later, and there may be the developers may have put another checkbox in there, or a value, or a box in there, an item, an object in the application. But what it also does, it highlights the individual controls for each step. So again, here you can see the email. And if I continue on down, it's going to go through my other different controls here as well. All right. Also, it's got an error message in here. And this is the check. So I done a check on my total. And what I've done here is it's seen an actual versus expected. So the actual of 499, the expected of 599. Now that could be because of a number of things. It could be, since you're last on the testing, you haven't rolled back the data in the database, so the data is out of sync at the database level. Or it could be that the developer has changed something in the total, and now that the value is done, there might be a calculated value that might be incorrect. If it's a case that is the database, simply clicking on this link here will update the expected value with the actual value. So you don't need to log on to SQL Plus or Query Analyzer, for example, and do your select statements, or update statements, I should say. If it's a UI side and you want to get your developers involved, we can certainly work with TFS, QC, we can work with Bugzilla, Jira. So again, you can post these logs to your defect tracking system. All right. Alternatively, what you can do is you can open it up in a separate IE instance and give the MHT file to your developer. So again, once you give this MHT file to your developer, the developer doesn't have to have TestComplete installed. And again, it gets the exact same thing as you would see in TestComplete. So it has got the what browser version you work with and also the screenshots of what steps were done to reproduce the issue. So again, everything the developer needs to A, reproduce, and B, find what the error message is all in this MHT file. And as I said, the developer doesn't have to have TestComplete installed or know what TestComplete's about. All right, so that's briefly what the logging does. Any questions on that? Nope, all good so far. So I'm just going to create a quick project here, and again, I'm going to work with probably my web browser. I'm going to introduce my stock trade application, and again, what I normally do is capture images only is what's by default. I'm going to check the capture images and test object information. Now that's useful because when you go to record your test and then you want to add something into it, you can use the visualizer, and what the visualizer does, it caches all the images on the application, and with the application not even opened, TestComplete can recognize those individual controls and do some modification to it. So we'll talk about that more when I get to it. In here is the scripting language that you can create your tests with as well. Python is a new one that we added in because we're seeing a lot of universities and educational systems working with Python, are teaching or lecturing with Python now because it seems to be an easier language to learn. So that's my application, or that's my project created. I can record, as it says in record and playback, or I can record the scripts itself. So if I was recording a script, it would be JScript. But I'm just going to record my keyword test for now, and I'm going to open up my stock trade application. So everything that you do now is going to be recorded. So all the steps, any pop-ups that happen, all that are going to be recorded. So as I said, let me just. So I also mentioned about checkpoints. So we do have a number of different checkpoints. The ones that are most used are property and object checkpoint. And I'm going to use property. So again, once I drag that across, and let me just do something here for a second. Let me just get rid of that. Let me just cancel this for a second and do it again. So as you can see, once I drag the property or the bullseye across, you can see it's highlighting individual controls. And once you highlight an individual control, what TestComplete is doing is in the background is gathering all the information associated with that control. So it's finding the control name. It's not using XY coordinates. It's not using image-based recognition. So if I was to move this control over here, the cache balance over here, the script would still work. I'm just going to finish that off now. So again, that's my checkpoint finished off up here. Let's just close this down. So again, it's very simple recording, but as I said, close down some of this. Don't want to touch. Please go away. So let me just here. So this is my application created, or this is my keyword test created now, and some of the tests that I've done here, I don't really need. So again, I can delete that here, and so again, undo. So again, very, very easy. I can run the test and make sure everything's all right there. All right. Now, if I run the test here again quickly, just to verify, again, what I'd normally do is just to make sure everything's all right there. And what it does is it's just running through the automation with this again. So again, as it says, okay, let's just update this here. So that's just recording the step, and as it says, logging out. But what it does is, as I showed you before, is it shows the log out of that. Okay, let's cancel this out for a second. All right. So again, what it does is it shows the browser version, and it shows all the different steps for that. Sorry now, guys. I've just installed Visual Studio yesterday, and it seems to be just annoying me at the moment. So again, as it says, with this, it's showing up the pictures as well. But as it says, I can clean that up. I can move tests up and down and so on, so I can modify that. I can also convert that to a JScript if needs be. So very, very easy. I can convert that to a JScript. All right. Now I can build on top of that as well. So again, I can change that from Chrome to IE, or as it says before, I mentioned about the visualizer. So again, as you can see here in the visualizer, I'm highlighting the individual controls, and let's just say I want to check the discussion here. So I can now insert a property checkpoint to make sure that that value is there, that URL is there. All right, without having to re-record the steps, that's it created there now. All right. And same if I wanted to insert, if I got to insert a value in a field, I could do the same thing as well without having to re-record the whole steps again. But also from the point of view of running this across multiple browsers, simply highlighting that and now making a browser loop, and I can do it through specific browsers. So I'm going to add IE and I'm going to add Firefox. All right. So now what I've got here, if I zoom in a bit for you guys, is I've got my browser loop and I've got it through Chrome, Firefox, and IE. All right. So if I was to run this test again, now it'll run in sequentially. So I'll log on with Chrome, do my testing, log on with IE, do my testing, and then Firefox. All right. So that's building the test up from one particular test scenario to 3 different scenarios on 3 different browsers. All right. Does that make sense? So around the cleaning up of the script, around looking at the visualizer to add more steps, add property checkpoints, does that all make sense to you guys?
Could you use, is browser the only variable there, or could you be using it to drive different mobiles, for example? Say you had a rack with 5 different mobiles.
Yeah, so you can do device looping as well. So if you do an so I think I've got another one here. So if the operating system, or if it's an Android device, then run your Android scripts. If it's an iOS device, run your iOS scripts. So you can do a device loop as well. All right.
But the browsers, they have to be installed on the machine, is this actual?
Exactly, yeah. So TestComplete uses the browser. So for Chrome, it's got a TestComplete extension in there that you need to install in order for it to recognize the individual controls, be it a Silverlight application, be it a .NET application.
Okay. Well, you said earlier, is it always the latest ones that you support, or can you go backwards and do?
Again, from the point of view of the latest versions, we support, as it says, IE 9 through 11, but again, I've seen customers use 8 and 7. It's again, from our point of view, we've tested the latest, our latest version with the latest browser version as well. Now, I haven't heard any issues with earlier versions of any of the other browsers as well. All right, it's just from our point of view, we haven't tested the earlier versions. So if you look at the supported platforms guide, it'll say Chrome 45 or Chrome 48 and so on. But again, that's because we haven't tested it. But as it says, I know customers that are on earlier versions and we had no issues. Okay. Any other questions? So that's around our browser loop. Sorry, go ahead.
Just quick, is it just web apps or is it desktop apps?
No, desktop. So when I ran my test before, I showed you a WPF application. And again, what we could do is we can record a test, and I can do a record on my WPF application. So again, creating an order, fill in some details here again, if it ever comes up. And again, it's the exact same thing as you would see with the web application. All right, so again, filling in the details, doing your checkpoints, all that kind of stuff is all the same. All right.
You do retrospectively like you did on the web app as well, where you went back in and added a checkpoint at a later date.
Yep,
Without
exactly the same. So what you see, what I showed you in the web recording is going to be the exact same thing with your desktop. All right. So let me just go OK in this here and close it down. I can show you.
How good is it at supporting dialog boxes then? Because I've had a few problems with Selenium compared to UFT.
So again, with the dialog boxes, again, you can create your general events. You can create, you got general events to handle unexpected windows. So again, there's a whole host of ways you can do this. So again, as it says, if I can find it here, where are we? Events here. So again, you got your unexpected window, overlapping window, so you can write some general events there as well. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
But with the desktop application, you can see here, I didn't tell TestComplete where to find the exe. It automatically picked up where the location of the exe file was as well. All right. So again, as you can see here, it's got the visualizer, and again, I can highlight the individual controls. So if I want to add a checkpoint for this file here, I could do that as well. And that's the good thing about TestComplete is once you get familiar with testing a web application and you've got your framework and your best practices done, you can certainly transfer those over to your desktop or even your mobile. So again, testing mobile, and I've got a sample script I'll show you where you run a mobile native application as well, and you'll see the exact same thing. So the log files will be the same and exactly the same way as well. All right.
Yep.
So
can I? Sorry, I'm in pain asking lots of questions.
No, go ahead. This is what it's about. This is what the sessions are about. So ask away.
How is this? I guess where I'm going on it is same. Just trying to pick up the problems we had with Selenium. So especially if when they brought out new versions and then we'd have to rewrite scripts and stuff like that. So it's kind of backwards compatibility kind of question, I guess. Really, is what I'm trying to get to.
So again, from the point of view, so again, adding new controls or adding new properties to controls, TestComplete has got the ability to do that as well. So, for example, one way you can do that is, you can update name mapping during test runs. So, TestComplete works off of name mapping, and as part of that name mapping, so again, if we look maybe at products, and as part of the name mapping editor, it publishes, it looks at the individual controls and looks at a particular property for those controls to uniquely identify that. All right. So if you add something in, or if you change something in the product, TestComplete will then say, look, do you want to change the properties or see that the properties have changed? You want to use those and update control to make it more recognizable. So it's got the intuition to find that capability as well. Now, the other thing about this as well is we're actually releasing another TestComplete 11.3, and all this kind of name mapping, object recognition is going to be improved by about 30 to 35%. So from 11.1 to 11.3, we're going to see an improvement of object recognition across the board by about 35%. So that's that's underneath the hood. Our developers have been working on that to improve it. So again, and also looking at the AngularJS and different frameworks as well. So it's mostly around the web, also a bit around the desktop, but from a web application point of view, we're certainly looking to be best in class in terms of object recognition. All right, so that's something that's coming out in the next couple of days.
So if it had a whole load of scripts that are on 11.1, like you said, now, would they work 0.3?
Yeah, they will, of course. Yeah, so it's all forward compatible or backward compatible. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
I should have now. Yeah.
Like the other thing with this kind of probably control is, or this object name mapping repository is, being able to, run across multiple different environments. So again, if you want to run this across prod or dev or UFT, you can do that. Or if you want to run across multiple different systems, you can wildcard that out and then run systems across run across different environments. Same with dynamic content. So if you've got your main content balance, and that changes every time you come into the screen, like it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be the next time you log on, it could be 4, 5, 6, 7. You can certainly wildcard that out as well. All right. So there's ways of working with dynamic controls and dynamic objects as well, and that's done through the name mapping repository. But also, from the point of view of that, if we look at maybe changing the product names. So if we want to change that, because some applications may have text box 1, text box 2, text box 3, and not really useful in terms of renaming. So I can go prod name, okay? And what that's going to do is, if I go into my test 2, you can see here now it's changed in here. All right. Now it hasn't changed it in the application level. It's changed it in the way TestComplete recognizes that control. All right. Now, if I go back into the name mapping again, you can see up here that if I find the mapped object, you can see that the original name is still there. All right. So again, I could spend a couple hours talking about the object name mapping repository and so on, but again, it just gives you a high level in terms of what you can do underneath the hood for that. All right.
Yep.
So we talked about that. Again, from the point of view of integration, you mentioned Selenium there. So again, you can run Selenium scripts as well here. And again, be it Py, Ruby, JUnit, any of those type TestNG, any of those types of tests. Same with SoapUI. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with SoapUI, Ready API. So again, I can run my soap test. So we're seeing a lot of people nowadays that are working with APIs, and what they're doing is that they want to be able to incorporate both a functional UI test along with an API test. So for example, when I'm logging onto my application, I then want to go and check something in the application, maybe it's connecting to a third-party API. So I can now then run my API test, verify everything's all right, and continue on my function UI test as well. All right. And again, if I've got a function in there that maybe does a select statement inside the database to verify the record is there, I can run that as well. So from my keyword test, I can run my API, and I can also run my functional test as well. I can run a store procedure. I can run any other piece of scripting as well, maybe call a DLL, things like that. All right. So again, having that combination of both function UI, backend API, and even looking at the database can all be achieved through this here as well. All right. So, any questions again, guys? I could spend a lot of time on TestComplete. I know we're at 20 to 8 now. Is there anything specifically else that you guys are interested in? I know I did say I'd run a quick test in mobile. So let me just go and just open up my demo one here for a second and show you guys how just an example of that. So let me just try and pull this up here. So let me go and hopefully it connects to my machine. So this is my mobile device connected to my machine here now via USB, and I just want to run this test here. So let me just go ahead and run it. So again, this orders application comes as part of the install with TestComplete, and it's a native application. So, and again, you can instrument these applications inside of TestComplete. So you don't need to instrument it through Xcode or through the Android SDK. You can instrument it on the TestComplete itself. All right, and again, it's showing the exact same thing as before. So the log files, the device, and all the other screenshots. All right. And again, you can see here from the keyword test, exact same thing. It's got the name mapping repository and so on. All right. It's got the visualizer as well. All right.
Yeah.
So
does that do iPad as well?
It does any iOS or Android device. Now with the Android device as well, what we can do is we've got a lot more flexibility with the Android device, so we can record, say, gestures. So for example, zoom in, zoom out, swipe left, swipe right, and you can then incorporate that into your test scripts as well. So in here, as you can see here, I've got a play gesture for swiping left to right. All right, and I can also access the internal mechanisms like the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, CPU, memory, especially inside Android device. iOS, we can't do that because of the complexity of accessing that as well. But for our native and hybrid applications, we support on iOS and Android devices. All right.
If I wanted to, so everything is about authoring on either browsers or, in this case, an Android Nexus 7 phone, connected to the desktop or the laptop that you're working from.
Yep.
If I wanted to, having authored that, put it onto a virtual server or in farm so that I could kind of be running multiple different variables to every browser installed in the farm rather than just have to have, I suppose back to the idea of, let's say you're wanting to test on 4 different versions of Internet Explorer. So maybe you've got one version of Internet Explorer on one virtual server and another on a different one, another on a different one. Can you do it as a sort of controlled
so you can
run on a farm?
Yeah, you can, of course, Gordon. So again, from the point of view of distributed testing, you can install. So as long as TestComplete installed on the machine where you can access the application, then that's good because it needs to access the controls and so on. Now you can install TestComplete, or you can install a kind of a headlet or command line interface, which is called TestComplete, and that's for executing your tests. And then you can build up your distributed tests. So you can have host 1, host 2, host 3, and they can be all virtual machines. So you can in parallel run different tests. So if you want to run this particular test across multiple different browsers, you can do that very, very easily. All right. So again, you can install TestComplete or TestExecute on VMs as well.
So you could build up a sort of an automation environment which has all these different hosts with each of the different setups of browsers and phones connected.
Exactly, and the good thing about this is it's more like a master-slave setup where this machine here could be the master machine, and any tests you run in the VMs you can then copy all the log files back to here, so you can see what's happening, what have passed, what have failed, and so on. So you can get your reporting in one particular on the master machine. All right.
Could that master machine be QAComplete? Can you report all this?
You can. I'm just thinking. Can you? You can run a number of different tests inside. So as long as the project suite is there, you can run your test that way as well. All right. So as it says, as long as the tests are there, you can certainly do that. So if I want to maybe create a job, I can do that. All right. And then I believe I can copy that up there. Yeah. So I can run that job.
I'm asking. I think I'm wanting to try and orchestrate it not from an individual user or an individual machine. I'm wanting to orchestrate it from the master database, effectively, so that everybody could see the results of a test run if it's run it on that.
Yeah, the other thing about this as well is having the ability to run it through continuous integration. So being able to run it through, say, Jenkins, for example. So you could again have that continuous integration and look at what's happening there as well. So you'll see the exact same. You can see the results from the TestComplete, so the log files from there as well once you run it from Jenkins. So we've got a plugin into Jenkins that you can run your tests from there as well. But as it says, if you want to run that through QAComplete, you just add the job to the project at the project level and then zip up the project and then run it from QAComplete. All right. So there's a number of ways. You can also run TestComplete from the command line and prompt as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Is it just Jenkins? Is it the ones that you support, Hudson?
That's the main one that we've had for now with plugins, but purely because it's from discussions with the market and different people as well. So as it says, you can run this through comms, you can run it through command line as well. So with Hudson, I believe we've had customers that work with Hudson as well. I think there's some information on the community forum that discusses that. So again, the community forum is a very, very active platform for TestComplete users sharing information, how they've done things, how they've incorporated into their own frameworks, be it Jenkins, be it Hudson, be it Bamboo, anything like that. So I do recall some people using Hudson as part of the continuous integration.
Cool.
Again, things like BDD, TDD. So again, we can work with we've got an article out there with Cucumber, for example. So again, how we integrate that in with Cucumber and BDD. All right. And that's another big interesting topic because, I don't know if you guys are seeing a lot more developers becoming part of the whole testing cycle. Purely, these guys want to become part of the whole overall life cycle, and again, getting into the testing because a lot of them are part of the TDD or BDD process. Can very easily and very quickly pick up the whole testing automation cycle as well. All right. Any other questions on that?
I think I know the answer. Sorry, Jenna. I think I know the answer from what I did. But you can, in one test, you can swap between. So if I had a front, which is web, and then moved into some kind of integration layer where I want to do REST stuff, and then I want to check a database back end.
Yep.
Make sure it's kind of got the whole thing.
So
I can do that all in one.
Yeah, you can do that all in one. Let me see. Do I have an example? I should do here. So again, I have one example here where I don't know if this will work now, but you can see here I've got my Twitter account. I log on to my Twitter account, I post a tweet, and then I run my API test. So my API is looking at my Twitter account, verifying it's the latest tweet on that account, and then passing it. And do I have a log file that shows that? And if I do, I'm very, very lucky if I do. See here. Okay, so I do. So again, you can see here the API, which shows the endpoints and all that kind of stuff. So not just my function UI, so all my screenshots and all that kind of stuff, but also my backend API. So my endpoint, which is my API.Twitter, and also the requests and the responses. All right.
Yeah.
So again, that's a big thing that I'm talking about quite a lot over the last 6 to 8 months, and it's purely because IoT, because of all this, connectivity and connection to different systems and all that kind of stuff. People still perceive test automation as functional UI, front-end UI testing, whereas now we need to take it to that next level, not just at the database level, but at the API level, because a lot of web applications in particular are now doing a lot of API calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So any other questions? Again, guys, if I know I haven't touched on everything, but if you do have any questions on TestComplete, certainly, I think, Gordon, maybe you can be the lead on that, taking any questions and passing them on to me. But I can certainly, if you want more sessions on this, we can certainly do that. All right?
Yep, I'm happy to do that. So if anybody's kind of holding on to questions or waiting to see what happens next, drop me an email afterwards if they aren't answered.
Yeah, if anyone's shy in here today, hopefully no one is shy. But if you do want to ask questions via email and stuff like that, please do. All right. So quickly going through QAComplete. This is my SaaS version. Test management. Again, these dashboards and reports are all changing. So again, for each of these here areas, your releases, your requirements, your tests, you've got the same look and feel for that. So you got dashboards at the project level, how it's going at a project level. So again, we've got two kind of entities. We've got test library, which is an individual test, and test set is a grouping of tests in a test library. All right. Now, if we look at test library, some of the areas to look at is mostly around the organization. So again, if you look here, you've got your different you can order based on functions, features, whatever you want to do. But up here, I've got my filters, so I can make them public. I can share them with my team and so on. I can do quick searches as well. Actions, I can import tests from CSV. So if I'm working with Excel, or if I've got other systems, other test management systems that I want to migrate from, and that I can export those tests to a CSV, I can then import them in there as well. Fast edit is around bulk editing, so copying objects from one project to another and so on. All right. If we drill down into one of these here, one of these objects, so let me just do a quick search here. Let's do security. So if we drill down to one of these here, now this is the form layout. And the thing with the form layout is we try and make it as customizable as possible. So up here you've got a couple of choices. You've got a choice list, so which you can customize. So again, things like your execution type, your test type, your status, all that kind of stuff. You can add custom values in there as well. Same with the custom fields. You can add in custom fields. So if we've got fields that from other systems that we need to add in there, we can certainly do that. Very, very simply, and submit. So again, to have that ability to do some customization is very useful, especially when you got customized fields in there. And what it does, it adds it to the bottom of the form. So let me just go down here. So there it is there. All right. Now what we can do as well is, let me just clear this off because this is a shared account. And the guys in the US will give out to me if I've got a lot of different customizations in here. So I also talked about customizing choice lists. So again, if you've got particular status codes that you want to add in, you can certainly add in. So ABC is one that I've added in. Rejected is another one. So I can add those in as well if needs be. All right. So that's the fields. That's the lists. I can also customize the state transition. So if you're transitioning from ABC, I can transition to all these different states. If I'm transitioning from in test design, I can only transition from A to ABC, custom status, rejected, and there so on. All right. So that gives me the ability to manage that state transition, but it also allows me to control what fields are in the view for each state. So in test design, I may just want to have 4 or 5 fields required, and then the rest hidden, and so on. All right. So that's again from the point of view of customization. There's some of the customizations that we have from QAComplete, and that's going to be the same with requirements and releases as well, and defects. So we try to make the functions and features and the screens the same across the board. We also talk about link end-to-end traceability, and you can link items to it. So be it a configuration, so if I want to add in Chrome, I could add in Chrome there as well. All right. So you can link different requirements, releases to that, and you can see it here. It highlights it in bold when you add it in. All right. And if you were to go to this configuration, you will see that this test is added to as well. All right. So any questions on that, on their own customization? Around importing tests, so on?
It's going to be mere pain again. So where you've got lots of customization, can you copy it across other projects? Is there like the concept of templates or anything like that?
Yeah. So what customers do is they tend to have a base project, and then use that base project as their and to move it across, and then you can customize it then based on a project per project basis. So again, I'll have my sample template, as you would say, or sample project with some customization, and then I can copy that across to my one of my other projects, and then continue on customizing after that.
Okay. So any subsequent changes to that template, you just have to do all the live
just that project. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Can you have the different views and different transitions? Can you change those depending on what role you've got?
No, it's more around the state transition. So again, it's not role based. It's more around the actual status or the state of the test itself. So it doesn't matter what role you're in.
I can't stop Excel from seeing certain fields or anything like that?
You can again you can stop based on the state itself, and again you can do it at the I believe at the system layout as well, so the screen layout as well if needs be. So again you can do some customization there as well. All right.
Okay.
Required fields and also default values. So when you create a test, do you want it to be the user that's logged in to be the owner and things like that. So at this level here in the setup, you can do a lot more customization as well.
Okay.
All right. So when we look at an individual test itself, it's made up of steps. So again, I can add in a step if I want to manually. So again, this is from a manual point of view, so I can add in a step there, A, B, C, whatever. Or I can add in steps from other tests. So again, if I look at my security and I want to pull in a step from, let's see if we can get out of here. Let me just go back here again. Let's go to shopping cart. So I want to go to checkout procedure. And let's say I want to check out, okay? So I can reuse test steps from different tests as well, all right? And build up my manual testing there as well, all right? The automation I'll talk about in a few minutes. The token values is if you want to loop against values in a CSV file instead of having the hard-coded values. The run history is a history of the test. So when you run the test, it takes a snapshot of the test history. So again, the release, the configuration you work with, whether it passed or it failed, how long it took. And you can see the log file there from as well. All right. The versioning is more like version control. So if you know that this version 12 is having issues, you can roll back to version 6 where you know it's worked before. So that's kind of like a rollback or versioning process. The history is an audit trail of any changes that are done to the test, who done the changes, when it was done, and what was done. And then your notes and your files is more around, for yourself. The files is around. So again, customers ask us, can we take a screenshot, associate a screenshot with an individual test? Not at the moment. We are working on that to get that incorporated into the next few releases. But for now, what you do is you add the file to here, the screenshot to here, and reference the step number. All right. So that's a workaround here at the moment. Excuse me. So again, we talked about that, and let me just see what else. So again, that's around the tests themselves. We talked about the values up here, the items up here. You can also, when you create a filter, you can also create a test set from these here as well. So instead of manually creating it, you can create it from this as well. And a test set, as it says, is a grouping of tests. But let me just maybe run a quick test here for you. So if I run this test here, and this is our test runner now, we are improving this as well. But as you can see, because I've got different releases associated with this test and configurations, I can assign whatever one I want, okay? And with the test run, I can run my test here. And again, more relevant to our test set, you see it shows the progress of that, but it also takes a counter of how long it's taken to run the test as well. And again, you can see here the configuration. But if I run this test here and maybe continue on down all these tests here and maybe fail it here, say error 404 error maybe. Now I want to end the run, and what I want to do is I want to end this failed. Now I could end this, I could pause and mark it as blocked, and the reason I would pause and mark it as blocked is if I've got other people coming into the test, I want to run another set of test steps, they can do that. So if I pause and mark it as blocked, it will show up in the run history as blocked, and when a person logs on to QAComplete and goes into this test, they can continue on running those steps as well. But for now, I'm just going to fail this over. And as you can see, it's going to say, do you want to create a defect? Now, I'm going to go yes. And it automatically fills in the details for me in the defects section and tells me what exactly the steps were done and where it errored out. So you can see here now, the step that the result I put in was 404 error. So it does create the step for me for the defect. and if I submit that, it will also link it back to the test as well. And because I've got my QA connector, my connector to my, let me just see here, to Jira, it will do a bidirectional synchronization. So it will synchronize over to my Jira server as well. And same with requirements. So if I create a requirement in here in QAComplete, it will synchronize over, and same vice versa in Jira, it'll synchronize over as well. But while we're on the topic of the connector, what we have here is a sample. So again, the server, and again, I'm synchronized across both directions, but again, the endpoints for that, the project ID, the user ID from a QAComplete point of view, for Jira, what the project key is I'm working with, and then you got the mapping. So the mappings between QAComplete, okay, my server isn't running at the moment, the mappings between QAComplete and Jira field, and also your Jira workflow. So if you've got customized workflow for your status and so on, you can import them in there as well. All right, so that's the kind of connector configuration there as well. Also, while we're on the topic of integrations, you've got your test agent here as well, and this is downloadable as well inside of our QAComplete. But this allows you to connect to your Ready API, so it's run your Ready API via the test runner bat, or via any other one as well, so TestNG or JUnit or Selenium scripts. All right, so that's the test agent that's used as well. It's a REST API that calls the test here as well. All right. So, any questions on that?
Hello? I've got one. Does this work for the SaaS version of?
It works for both SaaS. So the connector works for SaaS and on-premise. So both.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me just see what else. So again, I'm just thinking. So again, configuration. You can add your configurations in there, be it browser, hardware, whatever you want to do. Your test schedules is purely for your automation. So again, if you want to schedule for Monday to Friday, whatever. But if I go into one of these here and just show you some of the automation, maybe as a last point here, and let me just do a quick search. So DW submit. Okay, so let me just close down TestComplete here. No. So hopefully this is closed down now, and I'll probably leave you guys with this particular issue, because I think Gordon and a few others were interested in the automation. So in here I've got my automation, and as it says, I've zipped up my project, and again, very, very easily I can run it through my TestComplete or my test execute. I can also run Selenium. I can also run Ready API scripts as well. But if I go back in here and run my test very, very quickly here and show you how it's done. So again, it brings up my test runner and it runs the test. So what it's doing is going to invoke my web service API that I showed you in the agent, and it's going to then connect to my TestComplete. So it just takes a couple of seconds, and again, depending on the size of the project, I think this one here is, again, it shows an average of 24 seconds. But again, I think this one is, I think it's, actually this is wrong. Bear with me a second. This is running my API. It doesn't make any difference. They're all the same. This is an API. I'll show you TestComplete now in a minute. But again, it's invoking the testRunner.bat. And you can then pull the log file from QAComplete as well. So you don't need to go into SOAP UI or Ready API platform. You can pull the script from there as well. All right. But I want to maybe close this down because I'm not too fussed with this. Let me just see, is this running? Yeah, I'm just going to close this down for now. And I'm going to run this test here. So this is my TestComplete script here now. So again, as it says, it's going to invoke the test and it's going to invoke TestComplete. So again, TestComplete needs to be turned off. And as it says, it's going to create the log file. So I showed you the MHT file. It will actually download the MHT file to QAComplete as well. So again, it's useful in terms of automation. Again, make sure when you've got your project in in TestComplete that you've got the items that you want to run the project in. So again, I showed you 6, 7, or I think it was 8 or 9 objects in the project. Just zip up that project itself, and you can run that. All right. So this is a calculator, very very simple thing that was run. And if we show you in the in QAComplete, once this closes down, it should run here. So again, if I go back in here, return, and so again it's passed. And you can see here if I download the MHT file here as well, it'll download it for me. All right. So I didn't have to open up TestComplete to see this either. All right. And the same thing would be for your Ready API platform as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So any questions, comments, feedback? All quiet? Again, as it says, guys, if you do have any questions on that, please do let me know. Again, this is just one particular report here for Ready API. Okay, so someone has asked a question. I think their microphone is not working.
I think it was Martin just saying his microphone wasn't working, yes.
Okay.
But he didn't have any questions.
Okay, all right. So I know, guys, there's a lot to take in, and I know we could spend another hour or two with the information that I'm showing you, but I do apologize for speeding through it. But again, has it helped?
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Have you got enough from the session? Again, has it helped you at all? Maybe get more of a feel for what Smartbear products we have available.
Yes, thank you.
As I says, all the reporting here and dashboards are changing. So again, this is changing for the better. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know, Gordon. I think again, it's 10:08. Again, I'm happy to keep going on. I tend to talk quite a lot and quite fast, and hopefully you guys got enough from it, got a sense for the tools that we have, well, the QAComplete and TestComplete, and what their capabilities are. I've just touched on the surface, but again, as it says, free trials. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to jump on individual calls and things like that with you.
I think let's do that. Let's call it an end today, partly because just honouring the scheduling, which scheduled an hour in people's diaries, and
I do apologise for going over.
On that. That's all right. Okay, everyone stayed on. But I think as you say, it's given us an overview. People, if it kind of gives curiosities, could download and trial, and if there's any specific areas people want to dig into more depth, I'm happy again to be the go-between to arrange further and more specific sessions or follow-up sessions if anybody is interested in further following up on the applications. But no, thank you very much.
Perfect.
Damien, that was useful.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks very much indeed.
Well, guys, thanks very much for your time, and I know it's late at night, so I do appreciate you hanging on in there and listening to me waffle on about Smartbear products.
Great,
Okay,
good.
thanks,
Well, I will drop off, and
I'll send you on the recording.
Afterwards.
Good. I'll send you on the recording, Gordon, so you can distribute that as well.
Great. Okay, and I'll drop everyone an email to see if there's anything came out of it, or there are any further questions that they wanted to ask, and rather than just wait for people to come to me.
Yep.
But I'll pick that up offline. And so thanks everyone for joining, and hope it was useful for everybody.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Indeed, it was. Thank you.
Have a good evening, guys.